You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AFTERBUZZ TV's Black Box After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Black Box After Show.
Okay. Game face.
It's been a wild ride this season on ABC's Black Box. The season finale tonight. We've got a lot to cover. Joining me tonight in studio, I'm Mindy Thomas with my lovely, awesome co-host here.
Hello, I'm Teresa Jane. So glad to join you guys tonight.
And hey everyone, I'm Jade Howard.
And we're going to break down some character arcs, get into our highlights. But first, we've got to get into this insanity hour of fear, right? Mm-hmm. And how did it start off? No other way, but Dr. Black runs in to see her psychiatrist, literally, because she was exercising, and she's refusing to go inpatient. And the signs and symptoms are all there, but she is not going for it. Teresa, what are your thoughts on the first hour of Black Box tonight?
Oh, it was intense. We've seen her, pretty normal throughout the 13 episodes, and this is the first time we've seen her hit this low point. And I mean, it's really bad, and you feel for her, and it's nice to see a lot of people reach out to try to help her and get her through it. People that I didn't normally think would extend that hand did. Reagan eventually did, and Dr. Mahmood. So it was nice to see them come in to support her.
Yes, and there was some conflict along the way, so we're going to dive right into that. Jade, what are your immediate thoughts tonight?
On the first episode, I think my first thoughts really were that's what she had to finally experience, like, you really got to see her downfall, and I felt like it was time for us to see her really go into like an episode where it was really intense as it was in the first episode.
Yes.
So, not that I enjoy, I did enjoy actually seeing her get into this state, because Kelly Reilly is such an amazing actress, and to see her really push the envelope and push that character to its limits, I think is what makes the show so great.
Right. I totally enjoyed the driving episode, even though I knew I should not be. And the fact that she stole Bickman's keys in order to do that, pulled that off. But yeah, she was confronted by the psychiatrist at the beginning of the show, and at the moment you need help most, Catherine says, then maybe this relationship is coming to an end. And so from there, she begins to hop, skip, and jump to whoever will listen or actually pay attention. And I was quite impressed. I hope I'm surrounded by a good circle of friends that can pay attention on that level. But some people know she's bipolar, others don't, but there's enough of a professional working relationship. And, of course, being in the cube that they deal with, the psychosis or, the neurology expertise, so they can kind of pick up on what's actually going on. Bickman, however, he's having some PSD flashback as he's shaving and with another woman in the background.
The nurse. The side chick, yes.
So he cuts himself, tries the transcranial device that Leo had tried. It doesn't really seem to work on him. He's got these man of steel emotions in some ways and then other vulnerabilities, but right now he's got these unsteady hands we're not used to seeing, and he's actually afraid to go back into surgery.
It's actually nice to see him lose his confidence and sort of get this reality checked. I mean, we've seen him throughout this whole season just like super confident about everything in his life. And now he has to, deal with getting over this post-traumatic stress disorder. And I think it's humbling for him.
Yeah, Joey's condition and the way that turned out, even though it had a good ending, it just was still playing on him so severely. And then he had to talk to himself and just say, hey, and kind of get himself in check. He kind of pulled himself up by his bootstraps in the surgery room and tried to charge forward, but he didn't have Catherine there in the operating room or next to him, showing him support of some kind. So he's not understanding this new territory that his heart.
She did have that conversation with him once she found out that he was having, doubts about performing surgery. So she did talk to him.
Right.
And I think that's what kind of helped him through it.
She was giving him like that pep talk. You can do this. You can do this. She like totally believed in him, and he didn't really want to hear it.
And she was a little bit slurred and not quite herself. So I wasn't sure if she was giving him the right advice about the transcranial mechanism at that point. But
right, but it was like she was giving him advice on what he could do to be better and like pushing him to be great. But then she also like threw in our relationship status in there as well. So I think that also threw Bickman off. Like, wait, are you trying to help me, or are you trying to trick me into being in a relationship with you? Like, what's going on here? And she's just like losing her mind towards him.
Right, because she's so erratic, and the symptoms are just ever increasing. She's dealing with more fears later in the show when she's alone, and voices, and
she's coming across as being just a crazy woman that does not know how to let him go. And it seems as if he's dealt with this before. This is not his first rodeo in breaking a woman's heart. Yeah. So I just
he knows it very well.
Exactly. So it was interesting because he wasn't really able to receive her, I think, as genuine as she was intending to be. I don't think he could understand it.
Yes, he's and she has not come clean, remember, with him at that point about being bipolar. Unlike Will did know, he did not know. And yet he's the expert on it. So that's interesting to have watched.
It just shows how well she hid it from everyone at work.
Yeah, she is really good at keeping secrets when she wants to. And we have learned about that in the second episode.
But we can't jump the gun just yet. We've only gotten maybe an eighth of the way through on episode 1.
During her erratic behavior and needing to go inpatient, she also goes to see Reagan. And she stays with Reagan and Esme.
And she scares the crap out of them.
Yeah.
She is tweaking out.
I have to say, she played those scenes so well.
You see her in like the corner. She's like, okay, 2 steps
Talking
forward.
to
And she walks a little forward. And she's,
Paranoia.
Going crazy.
Like I totally, Brittany Murphy, excellent actress, also, she reminded me of her. Playing something like that and getting into the intensity. And then, Reagan's like, backs up on those stairs. Wait just a second.
Right. I'm going to go check on her. You know what? As I'm watching this, I don't think that's a good idea anymore. I'm going to just go back to bed, and we're just going to act like that's not going on downstairs in my living room right now.
But she does confront Reagan. She says, I wish I were you. You have everything I've ever wanted.
And I loved that line because I really feel that Reagan always, as we saw throughout the season, was so envious of Dr. Black, and I think kind of wanting what she had with Esme. And then kind of starting to realize, maybe I don't have it so bad. Maybe I'm the one that's actually in the better situation. And that line really hit the compassion button for Reagan, I feel, because then she comes to the cube to take her to go get help.
She was concerned that she was going to go to Harvard and, do this speech.
Right.
That kept coming up. She was weaving throughout all of this.
Now, let's talk about someone that was very adamant to go give this speech at Harvard. Everybody's looking around. You're about to get on a plane? No. You don't get on a plane right now because you, ma'am, need to get rebalanced on your meds first.
Yeah, well, she's so far off the deep end that she even tells Mahmoud, hey, I want you to be my psychiatrist.
You know what? I think she did that because Mahmoud was so onto her that if she tells Mahmoud...
It was a way to diffuse it a little bit.
Yeah, to diffuse it because then it's...
then it has to be classified.
It has to be classified. Yeah. So I think it was more of like a manipulation thing.
So they would have that patient...
Confidentiality. Patient... Doctor
confidentiality. And then even before that, that's right, because she did meet with Dr. Hartramp, and she was ending that relationship, so she moved on as well.
That was so funny. I mean, it was sad, but it was kind of funny that her psychiatrist says, look, if you're not going to go to this outpatient like I'm asking you to do, I can't help you anymore. And she looks at her like, what do you mean?
Well, we've seen this buddy-buddy relationship,
It's
and there is
mother-daughter, but it was like
point,
friendship mother-daughter. And I think it was at the point where the Dr. Hartram is like, no,
I'm your mother first,
not
and then your friend. Okay,
Exactly.
yeah.
My mother used to always tell me, I'm your mother, not your friend. And I'd say, well, that's not fair. Now she says we're friends. But before it was, no, this is the hierarchy here. Like the respect factor. And she had to create boundaries is what she told her. I'm creating boundaries.
That's it. And then she was like a teenager, Dr. Black, and kind of like, well, you're being mean to me.
She's been going to her since she was
16.
Yeah, since she was 16. So that was why I think she always saw her as a mother figure, and then she got the stern mother figure that she wasn't used to getting because if you notice, she always got to tell the doctor what meds she wanted to be on. What she was always in control. You know, I want this type of medicine, rearrange my meds, I should be fine.
And this is the first time the psychiatrist decided to draw boundaries. She said that specifically. So I think it was hard for Catherine to take.
Yeah, and she ends up in the car. Again, that was one of my favorite parts where she's driving.
Oh, why? Because she's going to go to the airport because she is adamant that she gets to go to Harvard. And she steals Bickman's
But
keys.
she's got that reckless part of her personality to get behind the wheel, knowing full well. I mean, there's some part of her that knows, yes? Or do you feel that
she
that
knew.
was okay?
Oh,
part
she
of
knew.
She's enjoying the high.
She's
Yes.
enjoying the high because it's
Did you see her in the car? She was just do it again.
It was like a race.
That was her
thing.
the whole entire time. She was racing, and then where does she go? Not to the airport.
Oh no,
You know what? I'm gonna make a pit stop
Yeah,
in the
shirt
woods.
came
Take
off
off her
and
clothes.
Yes, and then I'm gonna
run
strip.
for the wolf.
just run right into those woods
Topless.
with all the voices of fear coming at her. That seemed logical.
And then
Let's create another Blair Witch, and then we'll get on to Harvard.
cracked
It's
me.
the hypersexuality kicking in.
Yes, but I'm thinking to
Okay,
myself,
yeah.
isn't she supposed to be going to this? She's missing her flight. Something tells me she was not going to be at the airport 2 hours early,
Yeah,
as
and-
is suggested by TSA.
And we knew the hypersexual episode was coming because she did let a little bit out when she saw Bickman earlier, and she
Yes,
said,
I caught that.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, what do you have a date with another man or something?
Then she said maybe it's not another one.
Right, and he was like, check you out. Right. Bickman's thinking, let me find out.
That was kind of.
And then Leo, he's studying for his
Leo,
exams.
yes.
You know, we've been following that for so long. And it was great that he was able to actually do the test without needing the mechanisms that they gave him to help with his memory. And he scored in the 97th percentile.
That was pretty cool to see that it worked on him because he did really need some therapy. Although he kind of set it down for a while, so I'm not
he
sure.
did it without, he was able to do the test without it.
Actually did it without it. Very
Right.
good.
Well, he had that talk with Mackenzie, and Mackenzie said, hey, you actually got all these questions right without the device. So I think that helped his boost of confidence.
And I think that's what it was more about, the confidence, than it was the actual tumor that he had.
Absolutely.
And I'd like to go back in also to the church bells from the Gothic Cathedral, and the children were on the field trip, and then there's this
Yes!
horrible
How can we forget
outburst
this?
from this madman, like with a little mini axe,
Like
hatchet.
what is it? A butcher knife. There we go.
And Raheem's mom, she just seemed fearless, and she goes right up to that crazy man, and she says, "Okay, give me that axe." You know, it's like
I'm thinking, no, if that's not a mother of the year, I don't know who is, because
Yeah.
she looked at him. I thought he was going to be the patient.
And then she's
So
on
did
the
I.
cover of some kind of magazine, and she's getting all this press. Well, when we went back to the cube, I thought the madman would be
I
in
thought
there.
the man, I'm like, oh, well,
Why
any
is
guy
the-
that's chopping people in the middle of the street.
Ugh, that was
let's-
just wicked. Woo!
let's
And
just be
all those
honest
children
here.
were there, but that was.
And the kids are just watching. Those poor kids. I know they had to go
Oh,
see the school
gosh.
therapist after that. That's a traumatic.
Well, they're sitting at the cube, and Dr. Mahmoud is walking through all these different emotions of people's faces. And so then the mother is saying, okay, yeah, that's anger and that's sadness. And then there was fear. And she could not identify that one emotion, which is what gave her the guts, basically, to go up to the dude in the first place.
And her husband had said that it's very uncharacteristic of her to act the way she has been lately. So that's another flag.
Right.
And-
Chewing the wallet.
Right. Well, it was interesting because the first time she came in, Dr. Mahmood asked Dr. Black to see her. And she said, she's fine. Let her go. She's a good person. She has a big heart. We should be rewarding people that are this brave, not trying to see what's wrong with them. And so then after she had her little riff with Dr. Bickman outside, I love how she just conveniently happened to have been there when this happens. But the mom takes her son, on like this like really high wall. Like, and it's like,
and then
let's jump. And the dad's down there like, whoa, what's going on here? No, don't jump. And then the cops have to come. And then that's when Dr. Black says, okay, maybe we should admit her to the cube.
And she had to end up admitting to Dr. Mahmood, okay, it was an oversight that I did not go ahead and treat this new patient because Dr. Black was getting very egocentric. She wanted to be on the news herself for the fear project that she was working on. And she didn't want it to be
feelings
about
of grandeur.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And that was wild about the wall, but fortunately they saved the situation.
Thank goodness, because I'm thinking this is not going to end very well. She's going to have a very
That
angry
little kid
husband.
looked really scared.
Right.
by the way.
Another kid, at least you know he was obedient to his mother. He respects his elders because he listened to
Yeah,
his
and
mom.
all of this led up to the confrontation of Dr. Mahmood saying, "Are you bipolar?" And that was where the secret came out at the cube.
And you know, Dr. Mahmood was just waiting. She's like, there is something wrong with her, and I cannot wait to figure it out because I'm going to bring her down.
And I was surprised that she did take a supportive
I was
approach.
too. She's always been stern and very just cold.
Yes.
But do you really think she meant it? I don't think she meant it. I really feel like it was disingenuous. I really do. I think she was waiting to figure out how to screw her over.
She had ulterior motives.
Oh, totally. She was always envious. I don't think it can just switch that fast.
Yeah,
The
so who's
compassion-
playing who? That was a good scene.
I agree.
and
Maybe they were both playing each other then.
yeah,
Yes.
because she's wanting to keep the secret and she's wanting to get the power play into her position.
Right, and I think wanting to find out what's really going on and to really get the scoop.
So they pull out their hats. She says, okay, yes, I'll be your psychiatrist. You need to go inpatient.
And I think she was going to honor, because as a doctor, if you have to honor like patient-client confidentiality, so she was going to do it. But that moment she didn't make it to the airport, or she went to the airport and stole the car, she had no choice but to tell Dr. Owen that she was bipolar.
Right. And she's at the airport. And she was, how did that come back? How did she get back into the cube? Let's talk about that. Do you?
Catherine?
Yes. How did she?
I think they just cut to the second episode after
Well,
she
she
ran
went to
into the woods.
inpatient therapy, and she went
Right.
to jail for 2 days for stealing the car.
2 days.
And then she ended up in inpatient therapy, which, I mean, it's not funny, but it's like, you went through all that and you still ended up in inpatient therapy. This whole time she's like kicking and screaming, I'm not gonna go, I'm fine, I'm going to Harvard because I'm gonna give a speech, guys. I've got this great revolutionary theory that's about to just change the world. I can't be bothered with my illness right now. And she ends up in therapy and then she doesn't want to leave.
Yeah, that was very interesting because she'd been in there more than a month, and then she's got the new do, and it's like her real self is really coming out more. She seems
She's a little bit more insecure.
okay, more mild mannered.
She's
Is
afraid
that-
to go back to the cube
Right.
and face the other doctors. So it's a little intimidating.
Everybody though in that group therapy session did not want to go back.
Okay, and then the second hour, I have to confess, this is the first time I really broke down in tears.
Oh.
Because, do you want to hear why?
Which scene?
No, I want to move on to the next topic.
Well, Bickman did it to me.
Teresa, can you just say his name, please?
Ian, I'm just saying, okay, when he said, you have nothing to be ashamed of, this is where you belong, and I will back you up. And I'm like,
Yeah, that was great.
That's what got
I'll
you.
tell you.
got me.
There's another line he said, "I'll tell you later," that really got to me.
No, don't make us wait. Do you have to?
Well, it was when she was saying
Okay.
that wasn't gentlemanly, and then he says, "I've never been a gentleman, but you make me want to be one."
That made you cry?
No, it didn't make me cry.
Like, you guys honestly.
Stop that.
That made her go into Bickman fan.
I'm just rolling around in my head just now.
I mean, for him to say that, he's come a long way. That's
Yeah.
a lot for like a player.
She
to
has
say.
won
That comes
his
from a reformed player.
heart to
Yes,
say
she
that.
has.
Yeah.
And that was very interesting.
And I love how it
Yeah.
was the nurse that sort of called him out on it.
Right.
She's like, you're in love with her or you're lying to me.
Yeah.
And I'm
Why
just-
are you lying to yourself?
Or why are you lying to? Right. And it's just like, you're just a piece of ASS. Like, I don't understand
She
why.
doesn't mind that though.
No, she obviously does because always gets jealous of Dr.
Right.
Black.
And especially what happened at the end.
Yes, and we won't go into that.
Well, when she
just
found
yet.
out she was in fact right, I think she was hoping against all hope that it
was-
wasn't going to go that full circle.
Yeah, she was like, sabotage, sabotage,
Oh,
sabotage.
she's gonna have to find something, and she sure,
Sure
did.
did, but we're not going to get into
Oh.
that just yet.
Well, the psychiatrist wants to hear about her first day back at the Cube because there's a lot of dynamics going on. Dr. Owen is having to say, hey, you betrayed us. You betrayed me. And he's having a real hard time with being lied to. His position totally on the line. He made it very clear, hey, if you're going to be here, there's no secrets. And he's just really, not going to have
He's
this.
had this history with Catherine since med school, so he's going way back and thinking about the times when she, didn't make it for an exam, and just thinking about their relationship and how she's lied to him for so many years. So, he doesn't trust her, and
He's
it makes
betrayed.
sense.
He's hurt. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, what does Catherine do? She hurts men's feelings. That's Catherine's, that's what she does. She hurts men's feelings. She disappoints them. That's her thing.
And he was retracing his history with her. And I think that was a really good thing to remember is that when there's that lie that's told, someone has to go back and revisit, and then there has to be trust rebuilt.
Sure.
And it takes time. And that's her side of the street. It's not the other
Right.
person.
And it's interesting that you bring that up because this episode, you really saw people weren't putting up with her stuff.
No, they doubted her when she made a diagnosis on that
Right.
patient.
But even if you rewind to when her brother left her, they showed like a flashback of him taking her to the outpatient, and she's kicking and screaming,
Judas!
"Yeah, you betrayed me."
Leave me here!
Yeah, she's like, I was like, did she just hiss at
She
her
did
brother? She's like, and so, but then after that, you see she comes back and he's like, I went and got group therapy. Like, he went and got help too. He realized that she wasn't the only one that needed the help because he also dealt with the mother that was bipolar. They share the same mom, and so they both went through it together. He just didn't end up with the illness, but he's had to deal with it, and I don't think he's finally came to terms with that, and he realized that I can't help you anymore. So when he takes her to her apartment and all her stuff is everywhere, and he's like, you have to clean it, you're on your own now, and she's finally actually for the first time accepting responsibility.
Right. He finds out, or he discovers that he's been enabling her the entire time, and it's not beneficial to her. And actually, this is one of the things I really like about the show. It shows how diseases and mental illnesses affect families and how they have to cope with it. We usually just focus on the person suffering from it, but this show really showcases how it affects everyone in their lives.
Anything that's so traumatic or life-changing for anyone, everybody's affected by it. And this really, like you said, it really brings light to that because I think we really do forget about that. We just zone in on the person that has the problem and not realizing that if your family and friends, no, everybody's sharing that burden. It's about lifting that person up, but you have to still come to terms with things you need to do for your mental sanity as well.
And I think in him getting well and dealing with his codependency, then he wants to be even more honest when Johnny comes into the picture.
John, I didn't see that coming.
Yo, I mean, I've been asking for Johnny to come back. I'm glad my wish came true. But I know before we go deep into Johnny, I just want to talk about this earring that he had in his ear.
There's 2 earrings.
Yeah, and they had were they keys or feathers metal feathers that were dangling from it? Because those earrings were who decided let's give Johnny these atrocious earrings?
Well, Johnny didn't amount to much is kind of what they were trying to depict. I mean, sorry to say it that way,
so it's
but
any man with 2 hoop earrings with dangling charms
well, not necessarily.
That's the impression I got when I saw Johnny in those earrings.
He never came around until 16 years later.
Why? Yeah. Because
Johnny's dying. Not in other words, it's maybe still had to do with him some. I don't know. Was he more outward? I couldn't trust him still.
No. He just came back. Because the voicemails he was leaving for Catherine were very, I need to see, as I want to see our daughter. So she's thinking you came around 16 years later. Nah, you've missed out.
And then he said, well, I've seen you in the magazines and I've watched your work. And I'm thinking, this one's going to cost her somewhere.
He's asking for some money. No. Right. And he's just like, no, I'm just dying. I'm just terminally ill from cancer. Just, maybe our daughter might be a match for me to live.
Yeah, because I'm like, aren't you even going to look at the medical reports? I don't trust this man just bopping in after all this time. But then she finds him laying on the couch, totally unconscious, brings him to help save his life, brings him back in. He's able to come back to life.
And side note, the actor that plays Johnny actually recovered from leukemia.
Oh,
He's very brave of him to play this role.
Naturally have those earrings in his ear.
I don't know, but we should tweet Amy Holden
ask her,
and find out.
How real were they trying to keep this because of those earrings?
He was extremely believable, in his part. I felt like he played a lot of these nuances really good.
Yeah, he did. That's a good fun fact.
Yeah. To overcome that's
very brave of him to play that role.
Yeah. Very.
But I've heard that, if you face your fears within the acting role, then you literally can not have them anymore. Very interesting. So, now.
But also the challenge that they had was with whether or not to tell Esme.
That's the
let's
challenge.
Get into that.
Right, because that brings everything to the forefront. She, Dr. Black, Kate, she had already said, she told her psychiatrist, I'm not going to tell, let Johnny back into her life. I gave my word to Reagan and also to Josh, but now it's all on the table and it changes everything when there's death.
Right. It's like, now what do I do? And so she talks to them because they're the parents. She gave those rights over to them. And they don't want to do it. Reagan doesn't want to do it.
Right. They are conflicted about it for a while, and they think, well, if we don't tell Esme, what if she finds out later on in life and realizes there's a chance to save her biological father, and we didn't let her know.
Because of a blood transfusion or something? They were the same blood types, and there could be something going on with that, right? Okay. And then, there's no more living relatives. He made a plea, and please, I just want to meet Esme.
He's like, I never stopped thinking about you. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't buy that either.
Barf. I don't believe you, Johnny.
Well, in the midst of all this, just back to Dr. Black real quick, she does go to Bickman's hotel room and says, can we rewind the clock?
Oh, my gosh.
And she's starting to sing, if I could turn back time. Well, not exactly.
Not really.
Somebody comes around the corner.
Oh, that nurse.
Oh, yeah.
The
that
side
nurse.
chick.
She gets under my skin.
Yeah.
The side chick.
She plays it pretty well.
Yeah,
Yeah, but then even I noticed the next day that Dr. Bickman, he did kiss. I think it was the next day, but he ended up kissing, Dr. Black with the door open at the office.
So she saw it.
And usually they would close the blinds and make sure.
So that's what got her to call her out at the end.
That's what.
So it came around. So anyway, we should get back into the big family secret that did come out and the way that it happened with Dr. Black totally in support of the parents doing the confrontation. We didn't actually see that discussion, which I kind of wanted to be a fly on the wall.
Yeah.
Right, to see, okay, how do you traumatize your child like this again? There's no easy way.
No. Yeah.
And she lost her identity, which is common sense 101, right? In a situation like that.
And who does she go to?
Yeah.
She doesn't go to school, and she goes to see Will.
David Ajaya.
I have to say,
yes.
I have a newfound appreciation for Will. I've always liked him, but just the way he handled things in this episode really won me over.
Even when she pleaded with him, or she asked him, "Are you going to tell Esme that I'm her biological mother?"
And this is when she stalks him outside of that yoga studio
Right, she's
when
like-
he's with his new girl.
Right, she's like, "I know you're going to be here because on Wednesdays at 10 a.m. you always take this yoga class."
It's really boring to me.
And by the way, have you guys done the hookup? And she was pretty out there to ask different
And
questions.
he's like, "Absolutely not." And then she looks at him and goes, "You're too good for me," and walks away.
So her honest thoughts are coming out, and this is leading toward either a total breakdown or her healing. And then it ended up that she didn't go inpatient, but it was
Right. No, she was going to Harvard. She was so set on going to Harvard.
it was all about Harvard being the cure for everything.
Exactly.
I think I'll go to Harvard myself.
I'm having an episode right now. I'm going to go to Harvard.
Yeah, that seems logical. Let's just go. Yeah. Well, okay, so then for the first time in Esme's life, she's dealing with her identity crisis, and she did express that to Will, for the first, I don't know who I am.
I love that she was able to confide in him.
Yeah.
That's where she went. That was the only
That shows
place-
what kind of person Will is. And Will's the one that takes Esme to the hospital to Johnny. My favorite scene was actually when Esme, holds her mom and dad's hands and says, "I'm going in there with my real mom and my real dad."
Yeah, that was very powerful.
But, I mean, talk about shade. I mean,
Oh, to Catherine?
yes!
She was not having her.
She was
You
like,
abandoned me, lady.
Right. But I'm gonna go see the man that also abandoned me, and I'm gonna help save his life. I mean, it just seemed such like a.
She is a teenager, so
Right.
it'll take a while for her to get used to the
But
fact.
did you notice how Reagan seemed okay with that? though?
Yeah, I'm
Reagan
sure
was
Reagan was like-
"Yeah, honey, take your mama's hand. Let's go."
Well, Reagan, the whole time, that was her biggest insecurity. Was
Right.
that.
But you was like, "Dang, Reagan, really?"
Reagan loved
You looked at Catherine like, "Peace out. See you later."
So we'll jump back into the cube real quick because I want to talk about that case study with the evil twin. What did you guys think about? It was really called the imaginary twin, I think. And what did you think about how he kept seeing? Literally, it looked like he had a twin, but then nope. They weren't even there at all. Was that a little creepy?
It was creepy.
Well, the thing is, the twins were just all creepy. They would like come out of like the one came like from a frame like from like the side frame and was like.
But it couldn't have been
And-
creepier
and
than
I was like, oh, like
than the
that-
dead man walking recently, or
I mean, that one.
you're seeing the perspective
when they started
again of-
multiplying.
Yeah, that's when it was. Like,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, when they're multiplying, I'm telling you, then like some were just like coming out of like random frames from the shots, and they're just like, "Hey, hi," and you're just like, and their eyes are all big. I'm just like, what's going on
scaring
here? Yeah, sorry. I was getting into character. My bad.
Well, let's get in. Yeah, is there any other final thoughts on tonight's, the grand finale of tonight? Because I want to get into also some highlights of the season.
Okay, yeah, I was just gonna say one more thing about the evil twins.
Okay,
that
please.
case study. What was interesting though is that Catherine really wanted to help this patient. It's like her first week back. She's Dr. Owen. She's explaining, I can do my job. He's like, "Any more secrets?" She's like, "No." And then he's like, "All right, I can give you back your job under these conditions." One of them, which was, you have to let me talk to your psychiatrist, which she was like, "Oh goodness gracious!" But she agreed
Which
to.
I think is a good thing
Right.
because the
She backed-
psychiatrist will.
She backed her up. She backed her up. She said, "No, yeah, I can't guarantee you that she's going to be mentally stable, but she's great, and that's what the cube is for."
And she has more manic episodes than depression.
Right.
And her being at the cube has more benefits than negative.
Exactly. And so during this patient, though, you really saw everyone doubt her. And she would always tell everybody what she was going to do. And Dr. Owen might kind of question it, but then he would let her do her thing. Because she was always right. She was never wrong. Yeah. And so this time let's have the psychiatrist handle this one instead. You're not right. You're wrong. And she's like, "I know what I'm doing, guys. Like, hey, I'm on my meds."
And Dr.
Right, she thought it was
Mahmood.
a result of seizures.
Yeah,
Right.
that's a good point because Dr. Mahmood was like, "That's right. I'm going to step into this one
Then
now."
we saw her
Her true
get back
colors.
into her usual.
Yeah.
But
She-
also Speaking of Mahmood, when she saw Catherine in her office, and she says, "I think you're going to have another episode again.
You're going to relapse.
You're going to relapse. You're going to have a relapse. You need more time away." And I thought, well, dang. Talk about being honest.
She has no faith in her.
No faith.
Yeah, she was wanting to, again, get her on out of there and move on up.
And it was crazy how the show ends. Like, so many cliffhangers.
Yeah.
Like, one cliffhanger are the students when they're getting their acceptance letters.
Right, Allie, Leo, and Mackenzie.
So now we don't know who got into the cube. Great. Now I've got to wait. And then you have Dr. Owen when the nurse comes in and says, you know what? She requested a prescription for Oxycontin and wasn't supposed to. She used it for herself. And I can prove it because she was jealous about the whole Bickman thing. And so then she's standing there. Everything is finally going well for her. At least she's like trying to make the progress. She's standing over there watching her man do his surgery. And he's like,
he's looking at her.
Fired.
Yeah, and to come up against a doctor, you better have your P's and Q's, your T's crossed, your
I mean,
I's
it makes
dotted.
sense why Owen decided that. I mean, that's very black and white, you know?
Right, but it was like, and scene. You're like, no.
Yeah, well, I
Season 2.
definitely
Yes.
got attached to these characters and really enjoyed the 2 hours tonight.
And we also have to talk about Dr. Lena.
Dr. Leah, you're right.
One of our favorites.
Yeah, because Leo ends up bringing the boyfriend,
The plumber guy,
there.
who's like totally cleaned up. He's wearing his leather jacket.
And he's like,
looking
I'm
good.
here to sweep you off your feet again.
Yeah, and she's like, look, this is a biological condition. I can't take medicine. I can't get therapy. This is the way I'm wired here.
She's hardwired that way.
And he was
yeah.
like, all right, then, you know, let's open
Baby
the gates and go in that way.
But okay, I guess this is my question. She is like, for her condition.
Yes.
She doesn't like to go anywhere outside, right?
Right.
How'd she get to the cube? Like, she had to do a lot of schooling. But she didn't do like an online course. Like, how did she?
Well,
Right.
she did explain it from a medical level that it had to do with the frontal lobe, et cetera, and perhaps it got worse at some point.
To the point where she's like confined to this area.
Maybe
now.
once she actually locked into one area. Yes, like what you're. But when she was out and about, she dealt with it, and then it
The
was
cube just made her feel better.
Yeah.
But I love it when, so he's like, sweeps her off her feet and they go into her little like hydraulic like lair. And the remote control she used was for Apple TV.
Was that what it was? It looked familiar.
I was like, I have that remote. Oh. And I like, that's the, so you mean to tell me that my Apple TV remote can open doors? I love that that was the prop.
Well, and another prop that I did notice, and this was the last episode last week, was that Dr. Black takes lithium, which means that, that's her particular medicine, along with a couple of others. And so I'd done some research. And anyway, there are different antidepressants that you can take and different things. But I also liked at the very end of Black Box tonight, they did throw up a website that if people are suffering with this, then there's so much out there now that you can take. I noticed you can take a quiz online and find out if you have different symptoms, and then you can track it, and so you can just ask so much for free and do.
It's really one of the first shows in a while that's highlighted mental illness in the way that it has, and I think that's such a great way to get awareness out there.
Well, they're pioneering. I mean, they're pioneering an effort to bring that awareness and then also take away that stigma, because we've got, my grandparents, for example, they're married 65 years. Well, they're not going to be in the same school of thought necessarily. Hi, Grandpa and Grandma, but I'm just saying that's not necessarily an old school way of thinking. It might be, and I'm not saying they're like that, but read your Bible more, pray more. It just depends, what circle you go to, and people are going to give advice, and those are great things to do. But if you break your leg, you go into the ER, and you're going to get a cast put on. And if your brain's hurting, there's certain ways
you're going to go to the cube.
Yeah, really.
We're going to go see, I need to see Dr. Black. Please.
Oh, yeah, and I did a little research. I wanted to find out, okay, well, what do they have in New York City? And one of the things I found was Bellevue Hospital from the 1700s that they actually treat homeless people there a lot now. But I was wondering if some of the creators had done that type of research, which I'm sure they did, and what they found along the way. But yeah, state-of-the-art mental health facility. Now I'm going to have to find one to go to just to kind of visit, I think, in real life. I mean, I'm really into this.
We should do a little
Thanks
trip,
to Black
the three of us.
Box.
To a mental health hospital?
Yeah, just to see. Well, maybe not a mental health hospital.
Oh,
but
the excitement is building. God,
I think it'd be interesting.
Yes.
After
now, which
watching
one
the
of us would be in the straight jacket and not be able to get out? It's going to make a question.
Yeah, I know, right? They're like, maybe we'll stay a little longer. No, I'm just really excited and hyper.
I'm just playing. But no, those are real fears. Like, a lot of times people don't, they're having suicidal thoughts. Well, they don't want to come out with that until they really have a trusted relationship. Are those still as taboo as they once were to have for people to talk about that now? Do you think that people are more open?
I personally had a somewhat personal experience with a friend who was bipolar, and he was not on his medicines, and it was a very unfortunate, not everybody knew that was what caused him to take his own life.
Right.
And so it really is something that people don't talk about or don't understand, or maybe more gossip about than actually discuss out of concern and caring.
Right.
I think this show really emphasizes how important it is to take your medication. The first 12 episodes, she was on her medication and she was able to live, a healthy life with good relationships and, be able to be a great doctor. So, I mean, if you're on your meds and you're keeping that up
and doing
then you can
therapy
maintain
as
that
well.
lifestyle.
A lot of times
Therapy
that's
and having a
important to do
support
both.
group, and sometimes you can't force somebody to take their medicine. I know people who have lost people who were bipolar, and they took their own lives, and it's so sad. And it's it's one of those things, you can be they try to be the support group, but that person does have to take the responsibility. You can't force them to take their medicine.
They need to.
It's something that they have to want to
help themselves.
Yeah. You do.
Right, and understanding it's not your fault.
No.
There's no shame in
None
it.
whatsoever.
And getting rid of that. See, even us now having this dialogue is a result from seeing Black Box. And across America, across the world, people have watched this show, and there's just more awareness. There's a ripple effect happening.
It's a great social message. It shows that you can entertain people. You can be entertained when you're watching television or watching
educate.
movies, and be educated at the same time.
And I enjoyed the case studies every bit as much as the bipolar awareness.
And the little campy jokes in between, they made it fun to watch. But you were really learning a lot about, even when you saw her shopping or her insomnia, you really were able to see what happens to people when they're battling or when they're having their episodes and
Now,
everything.
I personally could have done without the head exploding. That was
I remember when you
too
saw that,
graphic
you were not
for me.
happy about that head exploding. Mindy was like, this is not okay.
Yeah.
Mindy was like, not your favorite scene.
Right. And even the maggot man. I mean, I was okay with him.
Man. Have you seen the maggot man?
Oh, no. Dead man walking.
That was a zombie guy that cut himself, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I was kind of okay with that, but it was, I think because Dr. Owen was like, oh, I'm so excited, this is my dream, it's from the 1800s.
But they just made it, they would make it still fun and interesting, and that's what I think make the show which makes it a good show.
Yeah.
Let's get back to the Bickman and Catherine storyline.
Okay.
I mean,
Of course,
I feel
you want to
like
go back to the.
they've been teasing it. They were teasing it, all of the second episode, and finally at the end, it seemed like Bickman was ready to not quite make a commitment, but move in that direction.
Well, it did seem like, hey, we've got a stable man and woman here that are really wanting a real committed relationship at the end. And it was so much mayhem and so much, destructiveness in the relationships from hopping to this person, that person. And it was like, I'm just exhausted watching this. Somebody get some commitment. And so it was neat to see how their demure changed and their whole demeanor was like, kind of a happy ending, right?
Yeah. I'm okay with it. I'll take that.
You okay?
I'm okay with that.
Did you? No, you really wanted. Oh no, you wanted Will to come back. Now come on, come on.
Y'all, everybody knows I'm Team Will, okay? It's 2 against 1. That's fine.
You know he
think I
dances
was-
good.
It's almost like Mr. Biggs and Aiden.
Yes,
Right?
it was like that. 2 men fighting for one.
And she ends up going with Mr. Biggs.
She does.
The love triangle.
She does. And he's going to fight for her. He's like, they can't fire you. I will back you up. She was like, swoon.
Well, I like to see how Bickman and Black, they overcame the struggle to go into this foreign territory, even though, they were just going to have the professional relationship. And then it looked like it was just totally going to work. I mean, game on, let's do this personal thing. So,
Well, hopefully we find out with the new season.
Yeah.
If there is one.
And let's not forget for our viewers and listeners to go on iTunes.com/AfterBuzz TV and make sure they give us our shows for Black Box.
5 stars?
Yes, 5 stars, please. And to go to youtube.com/AfterBuzz TV and search for Black Box and like, subscribe, comment, and all that good stuff.
We love your comments.
We
I've been
do.
reading all of them.
You
and
guys give
appreciate them.
they give great feedback. So we're
Right.
glad that you guys are actually engaging and interacting with us on these because we have so much fun when we get to do these after shows.
yes, absolutely. And now let's just reflect back on the season, talk about some highlights or character arcs or anything that comes to mind because I've got a little bit of both. Are you up for it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Go for it.
All right, okay.
Absolutely,
Well,
Mindy.
just again, being invited into the cube, I now feel like that's a part of my life. And it was just enjoyable to go in there and see that a doctor's living in there or that there's these wild relationships happening on the side or just some of the dynamics inside of the cube. So I enjoyed that highlight overall. Are you glad that that's now part of your life as well?
I wake up every day and say thank you. Thank you.
I want to go
for
to
the
a real life cube.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So that's how much
Okay.
you're impacted.
Maybe we go
Very
there instead of
good.
the mental institute.
Yeah, I think I'll definitely
Okay.
do that one before I go to the
So
mental
maybe next
institute.
week we're doing live shots from the cube. Or, I don't know,
Exactly,
but-
exactly.
Okay, another highlight is that, in terms of the overall storyline, there was the coworker that they had lost, and he had some sort of peaceful exit from the world. He had the estranged son, and they got back together thanks to the
Yeah.
doctors, and then he had a peaceful passing away to hopefully heaven, It depends what you believe. And one thing I've learned from this show, it's reminded me everything really does come out of your belief system. I mean, thoughts and feelings, and they come out of your belief system. So it is important to know what you believe. Mm-hmm. And then
They'll
also
manifest in real life.
it really does. How, what you speak and your words have power, and it goes back all into that. And I don't really believe mind over matter. I really more am a person like spirit, like, okay, pray, get some help from above. I'm okay with that. I like the faith healing episode too, where the blind guy was healed out by the cart, the food cart, or whatever you call it, food truck. And
You can see again. That.
yeah, that was really great.
That was so funny.
And then he had the experience over in Jerusalem.
Right.
Yeah. And so that brought in the faith element. She had the spiritual experience, but she didn't really have a conversion. Like, I wouldn't say that she, became Christian or something. She didn't really have
Some form of enlightenment.
yeah, and so I feel like as a character analysis, like she needed more spiritual roots, I think, to help, just kind of to take her to another place, get some more peace. I think that might have helped some. What do
She
you
should
think?
have taken those classes with Will, taken those yoga classes
Okay.
that she said she thought was
All right.
boring.
You think
If she
Eastern
did-
religion? You
yeah.
like Eastern religion?
I mean,
some?
to each their own. It's
Okay.
whatever floats anybody's. But if it makes you be a better person, please go be that better person.
I liked her experience with Jesus, in the church. But remember, she also was experiencing shrooms because her and Will had that.
All right.
And was that a highlight for you? Like seeing.
It was funny.
yeah.
When Will
Okay.
opened the
The
fridge
fridge.
and saw bunnies in there. That was pretty random.
Now, what sticks out in your minds, like when you think back on this season? Is there anything in particular where you're like, okay, I'm glad I got to go into Will's restaurant and see him be a chef, or Delilah? Any particular characters that were really believable, even case studies that you saw.
As far as case studies, I want to say my favorite is the guy that got struck by lightning
Oh yeah, that was really
and
good.
then ended up having that newfound appreciation for music.
yes,
I thought that was really cool. I liked the woman that had visual hallucinations, and it turns out to be a blessing. It's not really anything that would harm her.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Oh, in the first episode.
Was it the
She
first
saw like
episode?
she had like a little elf as a friend.
Yeah.
You know, that was
think that was
actually
it.
that was actually one of my favorite.
Oh.
Just because
No, that was a different one.
Oh.
But I like that one too.
no,
Why was that your favorite?
I
Yeah.
liked it because there was nothing they could do about it. And it was just, let's just cope so she can be happy. And that was such a simple diagnosis. And that's what I loved so much about it.
Like they didn't try to over-doctor it.
Right. Well, they tried
Yeah.
to, and then she was so unhappy. So
Without
then they
it.
said, let's just let her be. And they
Oh.
did. And she was so.
Oh, the elf one,
Yeah, the
not the
elf.
waterfall one.
Not the
Okay,
waterfall one.
The
gotcha.
elf. It was that to me was just cute and touching, and I mean it was like one of those. Okay, what else can you do, Dr. Black? Like, are you just going to tell everybody to cope with? But you saw that's not the case at all, and I loved actually the rabies episode. You know, just to see how she went into her episode and then found a way to help the patient live, and just the different dynamics that were surrounding that regarding just her trying to help a mother's child and relating to like her maternal side, dealing with and allowing herself to be great, and also you realizing that she didn't really need the medicine to do a good job.
It's nice to see a doctor explore all the options
Yes.
before throwing in the towel.
Exactly. And I think that's what I think we all want when we go to the doctor. You don't want a doctor to say, oh, sorry, 30 days, you know, or we're just going to make you comfortable. To see somebody fight like that for a patient, I think that's what you want in a doctor.
Right. One of our highlights also here at AfterBuzz Studios was having Siobhan Williams in studio with us to share about some of the behind the scenes interactions and on set.
Shout out to
And-
Siobhan if you're watching.
Yes.
You're great tonight.
Yes, we had so much fun hearing from you. You're such an amazing person and friend now. So I am really thankful that The Secret came out before the season ended tonight with her, and that her character arc came full circle. We got to see that she can be nasty, and she, you know, because she's so Siobhan, of course, so pure, and yet I do like that devious side that she
She's got
has.
some sassiness to her.
Yeah, yeah, she can turn it up. Remember, she did change the wines with Will's
Yeah.
big investor to
Right.
get Delilah out of the picture.
She doesn't
so
play.
She's got some craftiness
She
there.
does, yeah. She's like she plays her cards very wisely.
Yeah.
She picks her battles really wisely.
And she turned to Uncle Will, and so we've seen a lot of great acting with her this season. And then also, of course, Kelly Black. I want to call her Kelly Black. Oh, that's
Kelly
great. Yeah,
Black.
she's a merge of both at this point. Dr. Catherine Black, Kate, played by Kelly Reilly, and you know, she just really started off. You know, she shared her interpersonal struggle between normal and exceptional. Throughout the season, we learned that she had a lot of tragedy in her childhood. Her mother committed suicide. Her daddy was a musician. He bailed after the funeral. It was her and Josh kind of becoming codependent children in a way, wearing all these different hats, trying to comfort one another through this tragedy. And then one of the relatives helped raise them, and then probably didn't know. I don't get the feeling that they treated her bipolar when she was an adolescent. Do you?
I don't think she was.
Oh, okay.
Remember, it wasn't until after Esme.
Was it after
I think
medical
it was
school and
after.
Or
after
like
Esme?
right or when she or
Okay.
when she
During
got,
medical school.
when Johnny knocked her up. That's when she started. Remember, that's why she
Oh.
couldn't take care of. She couldn't have.
Oh,
the
that-
That's
she had to give
right.
Esme up, yeah.
Yes. Yes. So she's abandoned by Johnny. That came full circle, of course, tonight. Johnny came back in the
I
picture.
like that his nickname for her was Kitty.
Oh, yeah, Kitty. And then also the dad, I think, called her that in their office in a recent episode. And she's like, no, you don't call me that. Only, you know,
Only Johnny now. Only Johnny calls me Kitty.
the men in my life that abandoned me have called me that. She didn't like that at all. That was a total mm-mm. And, you know, that particular exchange with her and her father was it got pretty nasty. That was pretty wrong in some ways. But I think that there was a lot of reality shown because when a dad's been out of the picture, kind of comes back in, he really did own his side of the street after that. But she had to hold him to it and hold him to be responsible. So I did enjoy some of that exchange. And boundaries, like how do you have boundaries with someone that's bipolar because it's a special condition? And you do have to hold your ground at certain points.
You do.
You do.
I think Josh finally learned that at the end of the episode.
Right. And that helped. That helped her. And I think that's going to help her in the future. Because we all, human beings, we can all push the envelope. I don't care what we're dealing with, right?
I know, right? Do we have any news and gossip, or can we cue the music for that?
AfterBuzz TV News.
Time for a little news.
Yeah, it is.
You can kick it off.
What do we have here tonight,
I gotta
Jade?
pull it off from my phone. Hold on. That's my passcode.
I want to say coming from Air One helicopter.
I'll start
Okay.
while you're looking. Amy Holden Jones wrote a piece on the National Alliance on Mental Illness on why she created Black Box. And it's a really personal show for her. I think I've mentioned this before. Her father was a brilliant doctor, but he was bipolar. He was alcoholic, delusional. And she said with medication, he was a cancer researcher. He was beloved by his patients. And he was working day and night to find a cure for leukemia. But when he was off of it, it was a whole different story. So this was her way of showing that and, sharing a little bit her experience with everyone.
Yeah,
And if you want to read more of the article, you can go on National Alliance on Mental Illness.
Very good.
Well, since everyone knows, I love to pull up some tweets. So Amy Holden Jones writes, "The end was suggested by Kelly Reilly. Our doctors told us of cases stripping off clothes going to public places."
So that does happen a lot.
Very interesting.
Very interesting. So that's my gossip.
Okay, now my news is that Kelly Reilly, she does a wonderful job in Heaven is for Real. I saw it again last night.
This is third time.
Third time.
What?
Okay, so I'm a fan of hers now.
Wait, did you go out? Is it in theaters?
Officially.
Did you go to a movie theater again, or did you get it?
Well, we saw it at home last night.
Okay.
Yeah.
Come on, Mindy.
Right. I had a relative pass away from cancer this week, so God bless you and your family. We're praying for you. And then also, Dr. Lewinsky, Monica Lewinsky's dad, a radiation oncologist, actually helped save my life many years ago.
Wow.
So that is another story, and you can tweet me if you want to know more about that, because after all, I have to do one tangent at least. For sure.
We like your
Music
tangent.
for Mindy's tangents. Like tangent time with
Yeah,
Mindy.
he actually gave me an amazing surgeon at UCLA here on the West Coast, and that he ended up saving my life.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
So,
Can I go on a tangent?
yes, you may.
Monica Lewinsky went to my high school.
What?
No, she didn't,
Yes,
girlfriend.
she did.
Oh, she was like voted the most popular, or the most to be well known, or something.
Most likely
she
to
got some,
succeed,
yeah,
I'm sure.
Yeah, something.
I went to, it was called Bel Air Prep at the time, but now it's called Pacific Hills.
Okay.
And yeah, my history teacher had an autograph from Bill Clinton in his office.
Okay.
And we said, "How did you get that?" He said, "One of my students who interned for the president." And we
Was that
said,
before the scandal came out?
That was after.
Okay.
Don't date me like that. Come on, Teresa.
Yeah, right. And right after
Add some years onto me.
right after the immunity deal, I
on you.
actually interviewed her dad, Dr. Lewinsky.
Oh, wow.
He was on
Amazing.
Katie Couric, Larry King, and he did my show at the time. So
Awesome.
we're because he's a radiation oncologist, that was appropriate to mention him, and an amazing committed man. Never missed a day of work during that whole incident. But back to Black Box, we're getting into our
Back
Black
into
Boxes.
the box
That's
of
right.
Black Box.
We thank you so much for letting us share with you our thoughts and
Yes.
opinions, and just for being with us this season. And we want you to stay connected with us. You can reach me at Mindy Charlotte.
You can tweet me at Teresa Law.
And you can tweet me at Real Jade's World.
And I think that's going to do it for us tonight. But before we close, I want to give a special thanks out to Kevin Undergaro and also Maria Menounos.
Yes.
You
Yes,
guys,
Thank you.
we've had an amazing season, and it's thanks to AfterBuzz. So God bless you
Thank
tonight.
you, AfterBuzz.
Thank you, AfterBuzz.
And Marissa and Steven and our amazing producers.
You guys are so awesome.
And have a great weekend ahead. Stay in touch.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.